I don't know if it's possible to play queen c5. That's also an option, by the way.
You think the white knight just goes back and tries
Maybe
to regroup
after
for
that,
an
what
attack?
about queen c? No, queen c8 is not good.
Okay, he's actually played queen c5, so the
Yeah.
most ambitious move, but
Well,
also a
he
risky
goes
one.
for activity, and don't forget that after queen c5, white can also get in trouble for the first time.
Yeah. The white king suddenly.
For the
bit open,
first time, it can
pawns
also
dropping.
be after knight e3, knight e6, and black is extremely stable. And for example, after h6,
You just want. But g6 is h7.
g6,
check,
h7,
yeah.
h7, that is a huge problem for black. So after h6,
Maybe not so easy suddenly. Maybe you have to go back with the queen to f8.
f8.
But then suddenly it feels like white's made some gains.
Well,
g4 maybe.
Look at that. Knight e3 is on the board. Magnus went down under 3 minutes.
Still hard to predict. And knight e3.
It's extremely difficult to play. What a battle.
Yeah.
If queen
We have to
c3,
ask.
h6. So Magnus just offered a pawn, sacrificed it.
It does look dangerous for black though.
It does look very dangerous for black. So I'm not sure that black can take on c3. And the players have to be so sharp in such a situation. He may be going back queen e6 and
Yeah.
going queen e6 actually. That's
I think you'll
one of the
realise.
options, but I'm not sure then it was a good decision to go queen c5 or knight e6. Knight e6, what we've looked at, and after h6 to go back queen f8. This looks,
But knight g4, it still looks very.
but after
Scary.
knight g4, you can go g6, I think. Queen d6.
Okay.
Very stressful moments for the players. Magnus went under 2 minutes by now, but he feels that he's pressing. Yeah, maybe black should be already going to this direction of. But what about playing actively? Queen d1,
Okay, and h6,
h6, g6.
g6. Yeah. Knight f6 check.
Yeah, and queen
Queen
c8,
c8.
right?
Yeah, so there are some dangers for black.
It's getting very, very difficult. Queen g4, white makes space for his knight on f5. It's getting more and more stressful for black.
Yeah, that's the dream square, right? f5 in an attack. Yeah.
And he's,
But if he could go for a queen trade now somehow.
well, probably
He'd
he
love it.
should be
Yeah.
playing queen e6, knight f5. What about playing g6?
Okay. And
It's not something he wants to do, but maybe he has to do.
maybe this is dropping
no,
a
but
pawn.
that's maybe dropping a pawn. Yeah?
But the king moves.
Something- But where?
Yeah, maybe g7.
Yeah, g7 takes and knight takes, so it seems like just in time. g6 on the board.
Okay.
g6, actually it's not a bad decision, I guess, because knight f5 was definitely something you don't want to see the knight on f5 giving checks
With
on
2
e7
minutes left.
with 2 minutes left, yeah, on the top of that.
Okay, so bishop h6 was Magnus's reply. Now, is he in some situation maybe going to take that knight on f8 just to go for a
I
good knight
think he
against bad
will.
bishop scenario?
He may very easily.
Then we'll see another 50 moves of grinding and trying to get that knight to its ideal outposts. Yeah, because if can black even move that knight? It feels very shaky. Knight d7, for example, feels like it might run into some tactical.
Well, knight
Refutation.
d7, knight f5, queen e6, let's say.
Mhm.
But maybe black is just hanging on.
Yeah. I mean, I would want to keep that knight alive ideally, but it's
Right
not
now,
easy.
we see on the clocks 1:23 for Magnus and 1:35 for 3, 2. Oh, how much I don't want to be in black's place.
Yeah, it's become a bullet game, and that's one area that Magnus excels.
And knight d7 is on the board.
Okay, so knight d7 is predicted, keeping the knight on the board, but this is one area where Magnus, he has so much experience. Rapports online, at least, doesn't
So
play
now the
this speed of
question is
chess.
whether, let's say, what is it if it takes and queen takes? It seems like black can save it probably, so h takes g6 will not happen
Yeah.
here, I think.
Black's knight comes to c5 very quickly suddenly as well.
Yeah, so black is looking for some counter chances. Of course, it's extremely stressful. Magnus is under a minute.
Yeah.
What is going to be happening still in this game?
I have a feeling he'll play a move like bishop g5, or, okay, he's gone knight c4, attacking the black queen.
Switches sides.
Okay, actually
Ooh.
the black queen is overworked suddenly.
Oh.
She has to defend d7
but
and
maybe
g6.
it is something very bad happening. Knight f6 only move, or what is?
But knight f6, there was,
Knight f6.
does this not drop a pawn? It looks like,
But maybe it's.
yeah, I thought maybe black could have played queen e6, exchanged the queens and gone for knight c5, gone for white's pawns, but okay, now white gives a check, the black queen drops back
And the pawns are falling apart.
okay, white's simply going to take on g6.
Takes g6.
Okay, he plays bishop g5 first. That's very accurate, and now,
Bishop g5.
yeah, that's a pin. He's going to take on f6 next move and take on a5, and that a pawn is
What an
running.
annoying move, bishop g5 in this position.
And look, Rapport, he's got his head in his hands. He was shaking his head there as well. Yeah, it was the clock. He just didn't have any time to work things out. And suddenly it's all by force. Maybe he thought that white would take on g6 there. He had time for knight takes e4, but
Well, he's going to go g takes h5, knight e5, king g7, knight c6, bishop c7.
does white
Well.
not just go for the a pawn instead? Okay, he has taken on h5. Can white try and rush with?
With bishop f6 and knight
f6.
a5, right?
But unless
Yeah.
the black king comes across in time.
Well, takes, knight a5,
Okay, black has to go king f8, I think. Otherwise, just knight takes c6 and a5,
king f8.
king e8.
Well, I mean, it's
This
a
should
dead
be
win,
winning.
right?
Yeah, the knight is too strong on d5. So it looks like Magnus, he is in charge now. The clock's still a factor, but
Well,
He's
he
got a
went
couple of
under a
tempting moves.
minute, but that will not change, I think, the final result. And he goes to simplify the position the way that is the most painful for black,
yeah,
taking on f6, taking on a5. And what a comeback
yeah.
by Magnus, making really so interesting.
It's
What
3
will be
games.
the outcome of the tournament still?
Yeah, it's 3 games in a row now. He's really squeezed out these drive positions, and yeah, right now knight takes a5, just knight takes c6, and running the a pawn is a decisive threat.
It will be, I think, impossible for
Okay, so
Rapport. There not much of a counter chance that he can think of, even though he's a very creative player, very original, very resourceful, but this is not the position anymore where he can save it.
no, this one should be a matter of technique. If white can somehow force the h-pawn, force black h-pawn to move forward and
And
get
he
the white king into the game later. It's
Regroups his knight to d5.
sensible start. The black king will probably just shift over to d7. The black bishop will maybe sit back on d8. Okay, there we go.
Bishop d8 immediately. He doesn't like to have the white pawn on c6.
Okay, so knight d5 or knight d3.
Knight d3.
Okay, a very Ulf Anderson type of move there, knight d3. He just loved that square for his knight in every position.
Well,
so
it's a very nasty way of playing, right? After f6, probably he
Now the
maybe
white
just
king
wants to
comes.
go king h3. I don't know.
yeah, and black's bishop, if it sits on c7, the same. White's king starts making its journey forward. Yeah, Magnus, he's so accurate, and it's going to be hard to fight back now for Rapport. Okay, he does play f6, but now those pawns are on dark squares. White's king has a route in.
At this point, it's choosing between bad and worse.
Yeah. What's the least bad right now? It's hard to say. King d7, okay.
Only some kind of study-like solution can save at some point.
True.
Rapport. Of course,
So-
now
King
if it would be king h4, then f5, some simplification, some practical chances,
Yeah.
but f3 is played.
Yeah, why risk it? Why not defend all your pawns, put them on light squares before marching in with the white king?
And the problem is for black, now he's forcing c4, and then he's...
Even if white were to play king h4, to be honest, it's pretty
Yeah, but why
straightforward.
to play king c4, king h4, right? When you can play c4, and after
Yeah.
that
But
you go king h4, and also the
thinking-
h5 pawn will be...
even in a
taken
dream
off.
scenario, but yeah, there's no bishop e1 check, fortunately for Rapport, because the white knight defends that square, and yeah, impossible to stop the white king entering.
Well, Magnus is so good in collecting points when he
needs
desperately needs it.
Yeah, that's the sign of a champion, right? The key games,
Yeah, absolutely.
give all your energy. And
Absolutely. So we're having a position which there is not much of a chance for black, but it's so painful to resign this game, of course. I mean, you can always resign. And
okay, just a few more
of course,
moves.
it's extremely painful because he was hanging on for such a long time. And of course, in such a cases, you feel it so much that it was a draw.
Yeah.
How could I lose this? At the same time, you play against Magnus, who had such a patience.
Especially in the way it happened, it was
Feels-
just a one-move blunder in a way as well. Just
Yeah, but there it was. I mean, this is
some pressure,
this
but
is the end of it, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
come from one moment to another. Then
True.
you're pressed. Eventually, you let it go for a second,
Yeah.
and
the
then
clock's
you
ticking,
blunder.
Yeah. And okay, White's king is now entering. There's no way to shoulder it off with the black king. And yeah, we'll see resignation any moment. Do you think Rapport will be able to pick himself up from this defeat?
Well, he should be able to, because after all, even this game, he played pretty well. It was just he slipped away on the way where it was possible to make
slip,
those
yeah.
mistakes, right? So at some point, it was all about intuition and nerves also.
Yeah.
But Magnus is so great in that, so I don't think he should be ashamed of the fact that he's losing against Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces in this way. And
Do you think he'll regret giving Magnus his a Magnus type of position, or do you think he'll regret not playing a more active opening maybe?
I think there
When
was
he has
not
more
much. First of all, it's very difficult to make the solution that will work against Magnus. So it's always the case, I think, that you make a solution. What should I do? This or that? And depending on how the game goes, you will regret it or not.
Yeah, true.
But I mean, Magnus played very well this game, I think. He really felt all the details.
And we just see him putting the finishing touches in, White's pawn marching
And
forward.
he resigned. Eventually, very painful loss. But okay, this is sport, right?
Yeah.
So this is how everybody is excited that the Rapport is still keeping his lead, but only very, very, very tiny half a point.
Yeah.